Hello, welcome to Run 13, Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. A proper street circuit again, racing under the night sky. I love how this track looks visually, especially compared to the last game when it was a bit soft. Feels a lot more like you're actually under illuminating or on the lights, driving on the lights. English is hard sometimes. There we go, on my hot lap in Q3. Went out early, expecting I needed more runs, but you'll see I had a pretty good pace compared to the AI here. Though I am attacking the track quite aggressively. Here we go, into sector 2. I take as much curb everywhere as I can, when I can. So too much at the point, so where it sometimes unsettles the car a bit, as it did just there. Go a bit wide on the entry here, compromises my exit. But all still pretty good. Third gear, stand a second, wallop it over the curbs. Down the gears into first, through the little hairpin. Onto the second longest straight on this track. Generally too short to really get an overtake done here. Some guys coming up ahead of me, hopefully they won't force me to slow down. Keep it into second through this little chicane there. And you can see I'm attacking the curves as much as I can, as much as the game allows me to do. Into the final corners, and there we go. A 1:41.579, currently a second faster than Alonso. Kimi Raikkonen is currently set in third. So we'll see if that lap is fast enough. It probably is, because they're never going to make up a second in qualifying unless there's some strange conditions. There you go, pole position. Sebastian Vettel's second with just under a second behind, but still a very, very big gap. Then it's Fernando Alonso and my newly appointed rival Lewis Hamilton, who's currently second in the championship. Then Nico Rosberg, Mark Webber, Kimi Raikkonen, Sergio Perez, Jenson Button, and Nico Hülkenberg. So with that amount of gap between numbers 1 and 2 in qualifying, I was hoping this time in the race I would actually have the pace of the competition, though it would make it a very long and very lonely race. Though there is the projection of rain, there's a small percentage of, or at least a reasonable percentage that rain will come. I think it's about 26%, I think it was, if I remember correctly. I'm looking at the screen. Yes, it is 26% of. So it's dry, so the chance is high that it's gonna be late in the race. Here we see the rest of the grid. Soon to be lined up. There's Felipe Massa, missed out on the top 10 again. Gutierrez, good one in 12th. And Sutil. Paul Di Resta. Of course not with us anymore in 2014 F1 season, though he is driving DTM again. No idea how I was doing that, I don't really follow DTM. Then all the other Bottas had qualified Maldonado, then there's Bianchi in 18th. And it's all because Verne is in 20th position. Now a little history here. I did do this race before, or tried to before, but the game screwed me over so massively like late stages of the race, where I found it too ridiculous to continue. So I restarted. And what happened was I got myself a penalty, which of course was not so crazy, which happened because I cut a corner too much, because I was trying to, wasn't doing that quick on pace, I have to say, but I had still a decent margin, so I wasn't too worried. But I had pre-selected the intermediate tyres because the rain was coming. So when I came in to serve my penalty, it didn't really come in to serve my penalty, it came in to put me on intermediate tyres, so I was like, fuck you to the game, and quit right there. So this is my second attempt at this race. It's not that I really sucked the first time, so I basically got screwed over by the game by throwing me onto tyres I didn't really want to do. So that's what I really like to see in the next one. Have a little bit more pit stop control. Maybe a small interface button shows up or prompt pressing either yes or no to a certain action, like switch tyres, like No! Change wing, like, no! Hurry the fuck up. So, pretty poor start. Vettel crossed me by the section, but on the inside, I'm gonna have to brake early. And I tip him a little bit, sideways. Don't get punished for it. And Alonso is now in second. No, Hamilton is now in second with a better exit out of the first couple of corners. And I'm a bit, of course, a bit slidey, very heavy on fuel, of course. As I go onto the main straight. And it looked like Hamilton also already pulled the gap over Webber, who made it actually into third. Place 2.2 seconds of the gap at the end of the first sector, so that's a very, very good start. Bit slidey, just being cautious, so I'm expecting them to catch me a little bit in the remainder of the first lap, because I search what I can do with the car, or they almost lose it, so I have to slow down even more. You can already see Hamilton appearing to be closer in my mirrors. Use the rest of my curves in this little straight. Brake slightly before the 100-meter sign, flip it into neutral really quickly. Go into first. Bit gentle on the curves. And through the chicane underneath the stands. And here I do start cutting a lot of the curves. We'll be cutting using the curbs. Down the third, just for safety. There you go, that's one lap down. 1:53.556. The gap at the end of the lap is 2.0 seconds. I go a bit wide on entry. Let it roll in. So another very good start of the second lap on this track. And Perez, look at that. Perez made it into 4th place at the moment. So he's starting off well at the moment. You can already see a big gap between Hamilton and the rest as well, as Hamilton catches me about 3/10 in that first sector alone. But he does seem to gap Webber, which is good news, of course. There always seems to be that one guy who always seems to be, quicker than everybody else. Just looking at the AI cars, not necessarily comparing them to me. Just one particular person always seems to be better than the rest. I have to say that I was expecting the Mercedes to drop back a little bit. But Hamilton, as an AI driver, is doing very well this season. He's still currently in the 2nd place of the championship. Hamilton is right on the back of me. So who knows what kind of fuel level he's on, or what fuel mode he's using, maybe even high mix, but no message from my engineer concerning his fuel state, so no way to tell. I already put some safety margin in my setups, like using the sort of undercuts. I very quickly though pull a little bit of a gap down in that last sector, like the last couple of corners, by attacking the curves as best I can. But then they catch me quite quickly in this one. Webber sets the current fastest lap, 2.6 seconds, so they're quick off the line. And here we're going off now. You should have DRS on me for sure. And I set a purple sector time and improved my previous lap by half a second as well, so starting to find some speed. He only gained 2/10 on me there. So a little bit later on, lap 3, we're nearing the end of the lap. Six tenths was the gap at sector 1. Let's see what I do now. The fastest lap, and almost gained actually gained 7/10 on him there. Go a bit wide on entry, or on exit off turn 1. Which flows into turn 2, of course. So there we go, lap 5, a little bit further on now. Another fast sector, and Hamilton is now 2.4 seconds down. I'm trying to find, or I'm finding my groove. And slowly starting to outpace my competition. Which of course is good news for me. Trying to keep the line smooth, checking the track as much as I can. Making everything as wide as I can. Lifting through the corner, keeping it in fourth, accelerating onto the train and improve the fastest lap to 1:49.123. 2.6 seconds is now the gap, so I win quite a lot compared to the AI, especially in that last sector. So lap 8, the gap is now 4.1, so it's been slowly rising as this first stint goes on. Remember, my first planned pit stop was lap number 10. Tyre wear in the opening on the high fuel seemed pretty high, making my car feel pretty loose, so that's why I took a bit of a safety margin with the earlier pit stop and an extra run, or 2 runs on prime tyres, which are all pretty much clean sets which I have available to me. So we're here now, matching times. 3.7. They tend to be quicker than me in that middle sector, for sure. Attacking the curbs as usual. And roll into first gear. Keeping in second for these two. Cut it a bit too much on the inside though, but no warning whatsoever. An improvement again, 148.914, probably due to a little bit of too much cutting, if you would say so. At least I would think so anyway, in that little third sector there. But the gap is only back up to 4.6, so that's almost a second I gained there. So lap 10, my supposedly planned pit stop. So we're still gaining time. I decided to stretch it out for at least a lap. So there you go. Skip my first pit stop already. And here we are, lap 11 then. In the third sector, going underneath the stand again. I will also be careful on that corner, since it's, if you brake yourself there, you're immediately into the wall. And this time I do go for the pit lane. Into the box, immediately flip it to lean mix. Yeah, and I kept actually it clean for the first couple of laps. No wing damage. As I'm off to my second stint, few guys down pit. Hamilton keeps going, I think, and a few others. Unfortunately, I can't quite make it in front of this group. There goes Raikkonen, as you can see. Come out behind the group in 8th place, so I'm still in the top 10. Alonso dropped back quite a bit. He's apparently 30 seconds behind at the end of the pit stop, so he's having a pretty bad day so far. With the standard, then we're going to go mix, of course, on my core tyres. But these options tyres feel pretty nice straight away. Gonna take that curb a lot better already. A little Singapore sling. To pass them as quickly as possible, because I don't want to lose time comparative to Hamilton. But I'm pretty slow on the exit of this corner, which means I am just too far away. Try to, but nope. Think better of it. He's already going for the corner. Yeah, cut a little bit the inside too much. I'm not desperate to overtake him, but a slide past. well before we reach the chicane here. So here we are, another lap in, still a few guys out on track. Hamilton as well, hasn't pitted yet.
Okay, you should see DRS back online now.
Apparently had a DRS problem, but it wasn't too much of an issue. A little scraping of the wall, that definitely happened here and there. They're very slow on the entry, but pretty good on the exit. Better than me anyway. So we now start again. Of course, this straight is too short. Still in the purple. Regardless, of course. A bit naughty overtake. Kind of forced Gutierrez into the wall there. Again, the game didn't punish him before it though. And I couldn't quite see what I was doing. But yeah, that was in hindsight a questionable overtake. As I improved the fastest lap time of the race to 1:48.5. Lap 14. A little bit further ahead again. Another lap. Clean lap. And there you go. That's what I can do on the clean track. A 1:47.321. Of course, I'm back in first place now. Hamilton having pitted in lap 13. Less confirmation on the screen. For all the AI drivers to see and be envious of. So first back marker started appearing around lap 16. Sharp peak going wide. The area giving me a bit of space. Actually grazes the wall there by the look of it. And I make it past. Lap 17, 19 seconds is the gap, so I'm much quicker than Hamilton at this stage of the race. So let's see what we get. Hamilton crossed the line, even if we get to see that point. But yeah, the gap has grown quite a bit since we both pitted. And I definitely have the pace over these guys in the dry. Question is, do I have it in the wet? 20 seconds, so I'm definitely gaining sector by sector, lap by lap. Lap 20, 26 seconds is the gap. So it's going quite quickly. Which is nice, I have a very safe buffer ahead of me, or behind me. Graze the wall there going into sector 3. Doing very well. So lap 21, my second planned pit stop. Tyre wear doesn't look too bad. At this point I'm thinking, alright, it seems to be a lot less than it was on my first stint. Maybe I'm able to stretch it a little bit and go for another option run. I pre-select primes here, but in the end I do opt for option tyres. There's a back marker. Vern 17th, if I saw that correctly. Hasn't made much progress by the looks of it. A little bit later on, lap 26, there goes Duressa, pretty much on the same straight. Lap 27, still haven't pitted yet. So I've stretched out my stint by about 5 laps. But I've had enough as I graze the wall and go in. I have just to go reach the target which I wanted to reach, which was about lap 27, which means I want to do about 14-15 laps on these tires, which I more or less did, maybe a little bit more even, and which I have to do again to get back on my final pit stop, which is about lap 40-41 I believe, which I put it on. So with the tire wear as it is, that should work out quite nicely. I go in first position, I get out in first position.
Your car's fitted with the option tyres, just one stop to go now.
Nice little collection of marbles as I get out the pit line there, so that's always nice to start your lap with. Kimi made it into third place, which is quite nice. And we see Hamilton on the minimap just going into that long straight. So soon we will know what the gap actually is. It looks like pretty decent still. Gap is 10 seconds, lap 28. So I'm on fresh tires. Let's see if I can already start making a difference. He's got some back markers in front of him, which would help slow him down a little bit as well. So let's just start getting out of the line. Down into the hairpin onto the second straight. Blowing my curse. As soon as I find grip. Braking hard. And Raikkonen is 22 seconds down on the Brit. And it's already 12 seconds, so I gained about 2 seconds there in one sector alone. So Hamilton is not having much fun. 16 seconds in lap 29. So that's about 2 laps after I pitted. Bottas have to go a little bit wide to avoid making contact with him, but of course he has to stay on the track. Still improve the fastest lap, 1:45.401. And I think that's my quickest lap for this race, as the prime times are significantly slower, and of course the rain is also a factor which will come into play in this race. So gap is now up to 18 seconds, so it's getting bigger even faster than it did in the second stint. Now I'm on another set of options. And I definitely feel that I've definitely made the right choice by stretching that first one out, since I was still outpacing Hamilton even on my worn tyres. I was mostly looking at him, not really looking at anything else that was happening behind him, since they were all pretty spaced out. Anyway, 21 seconds. Holy moly. There's not much left of his time by the looks of it. He hasn't got much speed at all. 34 seconds in lap 34. Raikkonen is also catching Hamilton. You may start to think that Hamilton might have chosen a wrong strategy here, since he's losing a lot of time by staying out, so he's probably on the prime tyres. Or he's driving on option tyres to inhuman length. Which could be another explanation why the gap is so quick to grow. .7, it's growing massively, and my pace is already starting to slow as well. You can see a 45.9 there on that current lap there as we go into lap 35. Hamilton now comes to the chicane underneath the stand. Ooh, there's a grace the ball again on the exit onto the long straight. .43 seconds. Good morning. Lap 36, so didn't skip too far ahead. .46.3. So my pace it does at least slow down a bit now. No biggie. 46.9. Have a few tenths gained by the looks of it. Looks like Hamilton had some back markers to deal with. And of course would slow you down. There we go, that's my Dutch man. Struggling in that corner as I go take him on the outside. On the way to the Singapore sling. .53 seconds. There you go. Hamilton is finally in the pit lane, going onto the option tyres, so he should be a lot quicker now. But we're only a couple of laps out to my own pit stop, and with that gap I have a pretty safe margin. I'm a bit worried though about the rainy conditions and how the pace of the car will be. Did do some practice and the car did feel decent enough. I did keep the ride height a bit lower than I wanted to not compromise too much for the dry run. So I was hoping for a long dry run and maybe a bit of rain at the end, intermediate weather. So of course I'm not sure exactly what's going to hit me. So we're up 40 now. Seconds is the gap, which is Massa at the moment because Hamilton of course had his pit stop. Undoubtedly Massa will also stop pretty soon. I'm being asked to pit. Will I oblige or will I ignore? I honestly don't remember. But we'll see. There you go. That's one of the happy things. There was Webber there, stuck in the wall at the under the grandstands in the chicane. And the question is he going to get himself out of there? Currently, that's not really one of my worries. I managed to avoid him, and I'm going into the pit lane for my final pit stop. I've spared some fuel, and I think by this time the rain or the incoming rain is announced. 3.066 seconds, so pretty quick pit stop. Up sub 3 seconds, but whatever. Massa 58 seconds behind.
The track is clear.
Still gaining on them at that point.
You have no more scheduled pit stops.
And I have a curse failure
Your tires.
as I go out the pit lane, which is nice. Didn't see that. Or didn't really notice it. So here I was frantically pushing the curve, and I'm like, ugh, crap. Curse problem. Oh well. Let's keep going. Through the hairpin. 54 seconds is the gap. But Massa's probably pitting soon anyway. So still yellow flags in sector 3. So something happened there again. Or it's still Webber. At this point I thought it was probably just another AI car who got caught out there. Yeah, there's some front wing laying there at in the braking zone, so somebody was a bit too close to somebody. So after the pit stop, the gap is down to 33 seconds. Ooh, I go a little bit wide there. I brake myself just about. Get some marbles on my front left. Go down to first, and there's Mark Webber still. Alright, so he hasn't given up yet, and he hasn't been cut out or thrown out by the game yet either. So he probably is stuck there with no damage, which makes him, or the AI car, just want to continue, but I don't know the reverse gear by the looks of it. So he's just like humping the wall. So lap 43. Yellow flags again. There's Chilton ahead of me, can't really do anything to overtake him yet. I have to wait. But Webber's still there. And he's probably going to be there by yeah, till the end of the race, so it's strange. 38 seconds, and I'm getting on Massa again. Hamilton's still in third, and then Gil Bianchi's doing a bit awkwardly. Slows down, and I can pass him on the inside. 37 seconds. Massa gained a little bit on me again. Touching back markers is difficult. There's Bottas, goes a bit wide again. They seem to go wide in that corner a lot. Want to pass him a bit early, not quite. Slows down anyway. And there I go, I'm a rich mix of course. Since I know that rain is coming. Sort of using up my fuel a little bit. I expected it to be a bit more higher in fuel consumption, but I actually got a pretty smooth gaining fuel as the race went along. There we go, all 2 back markers ahead of me.
We have a little bit of spare fuel. We should
There's
keep an eye on
Ricardo.
it over the next few laps.
Speeds up just before the corner. Of course, now we got the yellow flags again. Because Weber is still there. Almost wonder why the game just simply doesn't reset his car. There you go, Ricardo goes out the way. Almost. No, it does make contact with the Williams. Or with a Williams. So Hamilton now is back into second place. Lap 48, 37 seconds, the gap. And here we see raindrops, lap 48. So it's gonna get mighty interesting in the last 10 lap, as the weather will start to get worse. Bit wide there on the hairpin. This race is so very long. And here I brake too late. I completely have a moment of loss in concentration. I managed to keep my front wing intact, but it's very hard to flip the car around. Normally where it would spin quite nicely, it doesn't at all when you need it to. So I have to make a few turns to get it back on track. So that will have cost me a lot of time, but my car is intact, which is important, which allows me to go back to driving straight away. There, of course, caution flag again because Weber is still there, stuck in the corner. And see what the gap is. 37 seconds still. Of course, he hasn't reached where I am yet. I haven't just after the third, going to the third sector, so you wouldn't have noticed yet. We will see how much it's become, or how little it's become, how much I lost. So 37 seconds was the gap. Wait and see. 24. So about 13 seconds lost in that incident. And Hamilton has gone to the pits as well. I lost a lot of time there. But I sort of have a pit stop ahead of Lewis Hamilton, because he's pitting right now for a fresh set of rubber. And I don't have to pit until the rain starts really coming down. And even if it doesn't come down, I'm still good. So feeling pretty secure now. So that little moment definitely woke me up. It's starting to get a bit wetter. I put up the temperature gauge to see how the tyre temps are doing, because if they're going to get too low, it's time to pit.
It's starting to rain. It's just light at the moment, but if it worsens, we'll need to switch to inters or wet.
And you can see the rear tyres are starting to cool off. Weber is still there, but the fronts are still in the green. Got a bit too much curb. I'm selling the car. I'm gonna stay out for another lap. It's getting wetter, but not wet enough just yet by the looks of it. It's probably getting close there because there's already spray coming off the tires. There's a Ferrari behind me and a Red Bull of Vettel in front of me. And that's the yield due to the blue flags. Continue a bit further back, lap 52. Another lap later. Tires are really cooling off now, and if I would have timed it perfectly, I would have pitted now. So this time already starting to be cautious, and even with that, bam, I do get some wing damage. Grip is deteriorating quickly now. But the AI doesn't seem as much bothered by it, of course, as I would be, because, you know, logic. There. They never seem to anyway. This is my luck.
Fuel management has been excellent this race. Great job.
So it's definitely pitting time. There you go. Yes, you can see the fronts are turning blue as well.
Decent times on intermediate tyres. I think it's time for us to change over.
Can barely get it around the corner here. struggling there, now into the third sector. I go wide again. See, Bottas seemingly has so much more grip than me, but he should be suffering from the same goddamn thing, but their AI, they don't, at least not as badly. Well, Assa is now in third position. Bang into the wall again. Grip completely gone now. Rear tires are blue, fronts are more almost blue, so a lot of people have pitted already. Of course I need a wing change after that earlier hit. The beginning of that lap. And I'm back on in the pit line. Hamilton 58 seconds behind on the last interval. There's still a pretty decent gap. Not sure what tyres he is on.
Traffic at the pit exit. Watch out as you rejoin the track.
So here we go. Can actually through this corner normally. I have 41 seconds at start finish. We won't properly see what we have until we reach, or Hamilton reaches this point on the track. Car felt alright. So I was pleased to know that. That's quite a bit behind Hamilton there. That 55, so it's getting worse. You can see the rear tires are blue, the fronts are blue, so I waited too long again to make a pit stop. Which means the AI is going to gain a lot of time over me as I will struggle to bring the car to the box. Of course, Webber is still stuck in this position. Keeping in second, just trying to keep it a little bit low rest to keep the rears from spinning. Doesn't really matter. Gently throwing it is enough. Still go wide a little bit on the curbs as I try to get into the pit lane. Slide out again almost as I come in for wet tires, but I think I avoided wing damage this time around though. So here we go in for the box, and Hamilton is surely have to wait even a little bit longer. Off 4.2 it says there's Lewis Hamilton, only 7 seconds down, so I wasn't going very quickly at all on those inters compared to him.
The track is clear. Track is clear.
But the gap to Massa is pretty high. So I'm fearing actually my position for the win at the moment, because I'm sure to be slow on the wet weather tires as well. So I haven't adjusted my setup enough, and I'm suffering for it now quite a lot as well.
Fuel is good. Fuel is good.
If I didn't make that mistake earlier on the dry, I would have a bit more of a buffer left, I reckon. There you have it. At the end of the pit stops, see what the gap is. Only 5 seconds, 5.6. So Hamilton is only, yeah, it's definitely quicker, and that Toro Rosso behind me is actually keeping up pace with me quite easily. It's not really quick enough to really hound the rear of my car, but he's there. In some corners I don't trust my braking. A little bit of twitch on the exit. And let's see how much Hamilton can win. It's not that far behind me by the looks of it. 5 seconds, so we gained about 6/10
He's 5 seconds behind.
in the middle sector. which is not good news for me. Lap 57, a little bit later on, at 3.4. Ay ay ay. 4 laps to go. But he's coming in quick, so I'm not sure I'm gonna have what I need to keep him behind me. But now at least I have the
There's been a crash in sector 3. Yellow
of course
flag
there's the
in the
warning
east.
for
No
Webber,
overtaking.
which came a lot of times when I reached this point on the track. That's just 27 seconds behind, so at least I seem pretty secure. For at least second place if I somehow fail that up there. There you go, 2.6. He's approaching the Toro Rosso behind me, which will get out of the way soon. Of course, Webber is still there. Been there for about 17 laps now. Yeah, he was stuck there on lap 40. Yeah. He's been stuck there for a little while there. And suddenly Hamilton is going slowly. He might have had a moment with the back marker there, because he still hasn't gone over the line yet. Still hasn't. Now he has 16 seconds, which is a margin that is most welcome. He made a mistake, or the back marker made a mistake. And I reckon they made contact. But it gives me a buffer I could very, very much use. Even if he is quicker now. I only have like 3 laps to lose quite a bit of time and just about keep it out of the wall there. So you'll see him gaining on me quite quickly again. Now 16.6, so he may have suffered some wing damage because of it. And I'm happy Massa gained a lot of time, of course, due to that incident, so it's probably a sort of similar moment than me, or just simply just hit the back marker, which of course is very much possible, especially if he meets him in those final corner there onto the main straight. I drift into that little corner there. Not happy with that, to be honest, but it looks pretty nice, I suppose. 15 seconds, there you go, so he starts picking up the speed again. But I should have enough margin now to safely stay in front of him. So laps 60 now, just about to start the final lap. Also wasn't exactly driving very clean, as you can see my previous lap was 1.6 seconds quicker than lap 59. That's not a good sign. And 11 seconds is the gap. So yeah, definitely made a mistake in that previous lap, and Hamilton is still very much quicker than me. So now it's all just keep it slow, keep it steady, and just bring that thing home. I got 11 seconds to waste on this track, and he didn't gain on me in that first sector. So I got 11 seconds to spare in these final 2 sectors. And I am taking it quite slow. I'm just easy on the throttle, easy on the brakes, braking early, just want to get to the finish line. There you go, very, very easy on the throttle to avoid spinning out and just losing the car, which after such a long race would be such a giant waste. 10 seconds, so 10 seconds in one sector. Well, I should be safe. We're gonna pass Webber one more time. Poor lad still stuck. Not giving up though. In normal circumstances the car would probably been on fire right now, like it was in Korea a couple of years back. Not sure if it was last year actually. I don't know. Probably, I think so actually. So there you go. We made it, survived the wet weather. The car was very much not performing well in the wet. It was a modified dry setup, which, yeah, it worked well enough, allowing me to take the win here in Singapore. So there you go. 11 seconds in the end. Felipe Massa third, Sergio Perez is in fourth, Fernando Alonso fifth, Sebastian Vettel sixth. So my other two competitors have not done so well. Jensen Button, Nico Hulkenberg, Gutierrez, Daniel Ricciardo, Verne in 11th, so almost in the points for the Toro Rosso driver. And Ricciardo actually gets a point for Toro Rosso, he's in 10th. And Gutierrez also gets a point. Yay, 2 points actually, he's in 9th. Good for him. Because we had a few DNS, I think, yeah, well, with Webber, sort of technically 3 DNS. Because my teammate Kimi, he didn't make it either. There you go, Kimi Raikkonen is out.
You're still first in the drivers'
And there you go,
championship.
238 points, 33 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who has 205 points, and Sebastian Vettel and Alonso both have the same amount of points with 168. And I think Webber was in 5th with 110, yes. So the championship is starting to look like it's gonna be more about me and Hamilton than anybody else, because the other two are a little bit further back for sure, which is, you know, not bad news at all. There you can see the rest of the pack. Daniel Ricciardo now with 15 points, and Gutierrez, he actually did get his first 2 points in this race, so jolly for him. I was hoping actually Hamilton would lose some more time, but yeah, his strategy actually did seem to work. He would just probably just pass them with much more grip. See you guys next time. I think Korea is up next, so I hope you will see you guys there for that one. Bye bye.